I was at a conference, I can't remember which one now, but one of the main keynote speakers literally said, he goes, if you're thinking about AI as a replacement, that's completely wrong. It's an enhancement, right? It's not here to replace, it's here to enhance. If you use AI to do all your thinking, you're using it wrong, right? It's not there to replace your thinking. It's there to augment and enhance your thinking.
Yeah, and
right?
That's such a great point because we're seeing it firsthand. I think before we joined this podcast, one of the things that we were talking about is I had a customer literally yesterday talk about they're still skeptic, and they're locking it down, and not allowing their teams to actually do innovation. I love this story about Kroger, the Captain America team, and all the things that they're being able to now go do. As long as they're able to go do innovation,
correct.
AI can go help them go do different things.
ChatGPT and Gen AI tools have hit the mainstream. The chatter was everywhere by almost everyone. We feel the discussion has been more philosophical than practical. We know enterprise technologists are using real AI to create efficiencies that result in real business outcomes. So, we created a show to talk to real practitioners about real-world active projects that are leveraging this exciting new technical advantage. Welcome to LiveAI.
Hey everyone, we're back for more LiveAI, the show that brings real-life enterprise AI, use cases, real people, all the things. I'm here with Nish Rama from Dynatrace. Here to talk about how Dynatrace partnered with Kroger to bring AI observability into the largest retail ever in the mix. And so with that, welcome. Nish, tell us about the use case that you helped Kroger and the problems in the real use case that they solved, leveraging data, leveraging Dynatrace to bring a real life use case and solve a problem.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Great to be here.
Yeah.
With Kroger and Dynatrace, essentially the use case we were trying to solve for was around end-to-end observability. Right? They had a very fragmented tool set. I think it was over about 16 different tools. Data was living in a whole bunch of different silos, and they were really trying to solve for when something broke, how could they get reduction in MTTR and basically solve the issue and focus more on innovation. Right? Versus spending time triaging and troubleshooting and looking at all these different tools.
For the folks that don't know MTTR, what is that?
Mean time to reduction.
Okay.
So if something breaks, how fast do we fix it?
Sure. And do you feel like they, because the data was all siloed, I would assume that there was a ton of different tools doing different things.
Correct.
Dynatrace didn't come in and really look to go like knock out all those tools. They were just saying like, look, all the data is siloed. We have a path leveraging our technology around Grail and other things that Dynatrace brings to the mix to see like, hey, this actually was, we can knock down these silos. We can bring this real use case to life.
Correct.
Throughout the conversation with the customer, and I understand they had a Captain America team that that you guys were embracing. When you guys attacked that use case, how did you explore that and compete against all the already existing footprint of technologies that they already had?
Yeah, great question. So essentially Kroger came, we reached out to Kroger and we were solving the biggest problem for them was, hey, look, when something breaks, it's just taking us too long to fix, right? And they underwent a huge digital transformation, right? So within their stores, bringing out a mobile app, getting closer to their customers, price changing, all that sort of stuff, right? On the fly, things like that. So they were really looking at Dynatrace to come in and look at, okay, how can we help improve outcomes for their end user? Basically, you go into a Kroger store, right? And if you can't check out, or you go into the mobile app, you got to look up, hey, how much does a carton of eggs cost? What's the price of milk? Things like that, right?
Yeah.
If you can't get that in a timely manner, that's a pretty big problem, right? Kroger themselves, I think they're roughly about 2,800 stores across the US. They operate in 35 states. They have about 9 million customers, right, across the United States. So they're pretty big when it comes to retail, right? And the biggest problem for them was when something breaks, we have to literally look at 16 different tools to figure out and then manually stitch it together. Right.
Yeah.
And so doing that was number one hard, and their justice team, Captain America justice team, right, their SRE team essentially was like, there has to be a better way, right? And so they brought in Dynatrace to essentially evaluate the better way to do that, right? And from a consolidation standpoint, it really was bringing in all the telemetry data into one place, and then the world of possibility that opened up.
And Nish, I think it's just so much interesting, because a lot of people would think Dynatrace is like more traditional IT operations.
Yeah.
You guys are actually helping solve like the customer experience use case. Yeah. As customers come in, they have questions around a particular product or whatever it is. They're in the back end leveraging Dynatrace and some of the AI capabilities that you guys are bringing into the mix to go solve like these real, so customers have a better experience. It's insane, because I would anticipate a lot of organizations would think that as more of like a traditional data platform versus what Dynatrace is doing, right? Yeah. And so as you explored that with the customer, you could see how you were knocking down those silos, right? From that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also, people always think about it from a data silo perspective, but it's also looking at it from an organizational silo perspective, right? So how does a business interact with IT and vice versa?
Sure.
So it's not just, so once they had all of the data in a single location, now what they could do is it started maturing a lot of their observability practice from the SRE team. But what it allowed them to also do was go back to the business and start looking at things like SLOs, right? But not SLOs in that we would think of in a traditional sense, right? So, uptime, response time, things like that.
Sure.
But looking at it from a business perspective, how many orders do we have during a Thanksgiving, right? How many of them fail? How much revenue did we lose? Things like that, which then made IT much more relevant to the business, and started going back to them and saying, hey, here's the list of orders that had 400, 500 errors, and this is how much money we lost. Right?
So this is like, if I look at this holistically, they're pretty far on the journey, right?
Yes,
I mean, are they, would you feel like they are fully mature, or there's still things that they're unpacking?
I still think there's definitely still things that they're unpacking, but what it's definitely allowed them to do is accelerate their maturity, right? So from an organization standpoint, when you look at, hey, we're just doing basic uptime, availability, readiness, those sorts of things, but now taking it more, we'll say towards the business, right?
Yeah.
Now we're looking at orders per minute, revenue lost, things like that, user experience. Why did something fail, right? Hey, they picked up the phone, they opened a support ticket. Why, right? Is it because the mobile app wasn't performant? Things like that, right?
Yeah.
And then again, it's also accelerating outcomes. So getting that data into the hands of the people that need to make decisions immediately, like, hey, we're going to go kill the server, as they migrate workloads to the cloud, things like that, right? Are we doing, are we seeing a better performance improvement? And then I think the final thing is freeing up engineering time to go focus on things like automation, right? Versus looking at it from the perspective of, hey, all of their time was spent troubleshooting. Now it's spent innovating.
Sure.
Right. And that's a huge bonus to the business.
Huge bonus to the business. Yeah. And so do you feel, as you have these conversations with Kroger, they're really truly going down a digital, a digital path and a transformation that is unlike anything that's anybody's ever seen. And the enterprises that I'm talking to, the folks that are embracing that, you hit it right on the head. They go away from like automating tickets and downtime and all of that, and they're actually going to go do innovation, right? And seeing what more they can do with the data. Okay, now we've got a real business problem and a real business use case around, let's just say, customer experience. Now we can go attack that versus like trying to just keep the POS up and running all the time, right?
So, exactly.
Okay, interesting. So from a Dynatrace perspective, let's dig in a little bit to the technology. We hear the term AI a ton. Everybody's talking about it. We're doing one podcast today. I got 3 in the back burner. At the end of the day, how is Dynatrace's technology really kind of dig into that a little bit for me and help me understand. I know a little bit about Grail. I know how you guys are ingesting that data and working through it, but take me through that piece of the journey.
Yeah, sure.
And help me understand like how you guys do some of that from a technology perspective.
Yeah, we look at it pretty holistically, right?
Okay.
So AI, everybody talks about AI today,
Sure.
right? And I think it's used everywhere now. If nobody's using that word, I'd probably pretty far behind, right?
I actually talked to a customer yesterday, and they're like, "We're very skeptic still."
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot of governance and compliance and other things that kind of come into the mix.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, so I diverted a little bit there, but yeah.
I mean, I think trust is a big thing, right?
Sure.
As it pertains to AI, trust is huge, and what we're seeing more and more is that context is everything. So when you have a platform that drives a lot of contextual value and provides more context than anybody else in the industry, that's really, if you're going to trust your AI platform, your AI tooling, etc., you need more context. Whatever provides you the most context is going to give you the best answers.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And that's essentially under the hood. That's essentially where Dynatrace shines the most.
Okay.
Right. So internally, we call it, Davis, which is our AI engine. It's pretty much an AI SRE, right? From that perspective. So you think about what it does is it takes, whenever there's a problem, it's taking everything in your environment, auto baselining it. And then anytime we see any type of anomalous behavior or something like that, it generates what we call a problem ticket, right? Within the platform.
Okay.
Now, what that problem ticket contains is kind of the who, what, where, how, and why. So, so it tells you everything from an infrastructure perspective, tells you everything from an application perspective, tells you everything with logs. If we're capturing the logs, it gives you all the logs in context of that problem. So you
metrics too?
Yeah, everything.
Traces, right? All the things.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So
great.
Think about it from the perspective of if you're an SRE, right, in an operations standpoint, that's what you would do on a day-to-day. You would go into these tools, you would write a whole bunch of queries, you'd probably have pre-built dashboards that you'd look at. We're automating that entire process, right?
Yeah, or you're handing off to another team that will do that work.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it's also about having all the answers that you need in one place.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So imagine in a world with Kubernetes, cloud, right, and all the complexity that comes with those platforms, and now you're having to go in and search and do manual work to go search for the problem and find the needle in the stack of needles.
For sure.
Right? Find that one log file that contains what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Versus in the Dynatrace world, a problem generates, you've got everything in context. Hey, I need to go look at the logs. It's there.
It's there.
But I'm not having to go search for it. It's given me everything that surrounded that problem. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we talked about this Captain America team of SREs, like moving from that. How long did it take them to adopt this change in mind of like really used to solving problems and answering tickets to driving like innovation?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was an easy move?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. And because of the way that the Dynatrace platform operates, it really allowed them to accelerate that.
Okay.
Right? So they went from 700 tickets down to 7 in 1 month. Right. A day. Right.
Yeah.
So think about that scale, right?
Yeah.
And what that does from a team perspective.
Yeah.
So now I had all this, their teams had all this time to go focus on innovation, automation, and things like that, rather than just
they're not answering a call at 3 a.m. right? So they got more time to sleep and do other things. Right?
Exactly. And they, obviously much more better quality of life, but also looking at it from the perspective of, as an engineer, you want to be working on things that move the needle, not just being, a ticket jockey and answering tickets and saying, hey, let's go restart this server, or, that's child's play stuff.
Yeah, and I love it because, again, it simplifies the process. You're not just plugging in a tool just to plug in a tool.
Yeah.
You're plugging in Dynatrace because it solves all these problems, not just one, right? Type of thing.
Yep.
What so talk to me a little bit. Obviously we're LiveAI. Give me the AI version of what this looks like, right? I mean, we talked about particular use case. We're working through that. Do you feel like the Captain America team and that group, are they identifying more use cases to go after?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there ones that are on the horizon that maybe they've never thought about now that they can go attack? I mean, have you had those conversations with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So what that's done now is it's taken out all the low-hanging fruit, right?
Sure.
And so now they're starting to look at, so obviously we've got we've released remote MCP, the Dynatrace MCP server, et cetera, to go integrate into your AI ecosystem, right? So things like ServiceNow, et cetera, right?
Okay.
Looking at potential AI coding, so like Cursor, Windsurf, right? GitHub Copilot, stuff like that, right?
Interesting.
So now all of those possibilities are available. So they are definitely looking at MCP. They're definitely looking at moving SLOs into their pipeline and automating their entire pipeline, right? From that perspective. So, hey, if you now write code as a developer, right, and you need to test it and do all that, using Ansible, using Dynatrace workflows.
So you're partnering with the ecosystem and tooling that they're used to using.
Yeah.
Just again, to your point, automating it.
Correct.
Let's click a little bit on the MCP side.
Yeah.
You and I have had conversations about it off the mic, but dive a little bit deeper into that MCP thing. Is that obviously it's new? It's a new term, and everybody's kind of embracing it.
Yeah.
But from an AI perspective, how's Dynatrace driving that?
Yeah, so we're really MCP for us is about opening up the Dynatrace ecosystem to the rest of the world.
That's awesome.
Right? So think about it from the perspective of like if I'm a developer now, right? And initially, what's probably number one pain for a developer is I have to go use a whole bunch of different tools to get everything done, including observability.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Well, it's interesting because and I'll go off tangent here for a second, but I talk to a lot of CISOs, a lot of VP of IT folks. Observability means different things to different people, right? So you might have one conversation over here and they're just like, hey, we're just trying to figure out the logs.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, great point. And I'm going to go a little bit off tangent here too.
I love it.
Now, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
And so
we can't always follow a script.
No,
why would we?
Not at all. So, so one of the things that one of the things that we're seeing, I actually spoke with a CISO, not at Kroger, but at a different company. Okay. And one of the art of the possible things that we spoke about was, hey, if like say for example, they were using GitHub Copilot. Okay. Right. And so what we said was that so Dynatrace has a native security component as part of its offering, right? Okay. So we identify vulnerabilities, third-party vulnerabilities, custom code vulnerabilities, those sorts of things, right? Sure. So imagine a world now as a developer where you come in and you say, hey, Dynatrace has identified, let's say, this vulnerability in a third-party, open source library or something like that, like React, which just came out recently, right? Yep. And now you go out to GitHub Copilot, you integrate it with Dynatrace's MCP server. It literally sends that vulnerability into GitHub. A GitHub Copilot spins up its own agent. Wow. And then it literally fixes that vulnerability. But here's the kicker. Do you trust it to do that? Maybe, maybe not. Sure. So you can still keep that human in the loop. But essentially, once it's done fixing the vulnerability, sends a note to the developer. Developer now goes, looks at it and literally checks it and says, yeah, it worked or no, it didn't. Sure. Iterate. So it gives that feedback back into so now you've got this feedback loop. Okay. Every time a vulnerability is found, it spins up a new agent to go solve for it. And the developer is literally just sitting there saying, yes, that works. No, it didn't. And that's a self-iterating loop that keeps improving. Right? And then from a Kroger standpoint, are they embracing that, or they're just starting to look at the future? That's what they're looking at, right? So it's on the horizon for them to start looking at MCP, right? Start looking at integration into their existing systems, using ticketing, those sorts of things. They use ServiceNow. So looking at things like Now Assist, right? Things like that. And then also looking at automating a lot of the operational standpoint. Yeah. So, hey, if you think about Dynatrace's place in that ecosystem, so you're using ServiceNow, you're using Ansible, you've got workflows, things like that. Great. How can we automate that entire process? Sure, right? Sure. Some identification to mitigation to resolve. Yeah. Right? And obviously, as you kind of look at AI, you need a lot of data. Yeah. That example that you just used, right? It's going back, it's iterating, it's doing different things. Did Kroger have a challenge getting the data, or did they already have it and they just didn't know what to do with it? I know it was siloed, but like, was it mindset of like, hey, we can get to it, we just can't get any. We just don't know what to do with it. I think it was both. Okay. Right? I would say it was probably both, and I would say it's both because one was when you have those sorts of data silos, like 16 of them. Sure. Those systems aren't going to talk to each other, right? And if they do, it's very hard to get them to do that. Yeah. Right? So I think that's problem number one. And so when it lives in one platform, it's now significantly easier to go grab all of that data. And
Sure.
then I think the other piece is that because of the power of the Dynatrace platform, it opened up a lot of possibilities for them. And what I mean by that is like you could now go in and say, for example, tag specific users, like, you know, hey, if I came in through the mobile app, right, I could now put in like session properties and things like that to go tag particular, like, hey, what was this person doing when they experienced the error? Were they looking at maybe a particular item? And then I can go back through that data and say, does this happen every single time someone looks for a carton of milk? Or does it only happen for that one user? Or does it happen for everybody just in Los Angeles?
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah. And you know, obviously, as you kind of look at it, we just have a lot of customers that are just struggling with making sense of the data.
Exactly.
Right? Like, hey, I have it. Now what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what I love about what your technology and your product does and how Trace3's embracing that, I think a little bit from our standpoint, I know this isn't a commercial, but we're having a lot of these types of conversations, and then not only the automation side of it, but being able to make sense of the data and be able to get the outcomes that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Right. We talked a little bit about next steps and all these different things. Is there anything way out in the horizon that you guys are looking at that not only from a Kroger standpoint, but from a Dynatrace standpoint that, and maybe you can't see that far out because AI is changing everything right away. And it's not a buzzword anymore.
Yeah.
Is there anything way out that you guys you've got your kind of thumb on that you're like, hey, art of the possible, art of the future, you know, type of thing? What's out there?
Yeah, I think the second piece to that answer is really about AI observability, right?
Okay.
So, you know, as most of these projects, they never make it out of a pilot exercise, right?
Yeah.
And the reason is because nobody's really thinking about observability from the start. And when they think about observability, they think metrics, traces, logs, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
And so what ends up happening is when you pigeonhole observability into that bucket, well, you limit it essentially to the power of what it can be doing.
Sure.
Right.
And then for Kroger, did they go down a path of like a proof of concept and like that type of thing just to kind of see what that looked like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for us, when we talk about AI observability, when we talk about better decision making, ecosystem integration, things like that, long-term horizon ultimately is we are building an agentic platform.
Yes.
Right. And that agentic platform is that we are going to have all the data, and then you can integrate it with whatever you want.
Yeah.
So for example, like a Snowflake or, you know, ServiceNow is obviously one of them,
Sure.
right? But think about all the other, like, so Amazon just released their DevOps agent.
Yes.
Matt Garman mentioned Dynatrace by name on his keynote in main stage, right?
Yeah.
And he was literally saying, hey, Dynatrace is going to go literally talk to our DevOps agent and solve the problem before that engineer even wakes up.
Yeah.
Right? That's where we're going.
Yeah.
Right? Is that if you're thinking about solving a problem and literally logging in and looking at a dashboard now, that's like 10 years ago, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have to do that at all.
Sure.
Right? And your system should be reliable enough, and your system should be producing enough context that you don't need to do that. You don't need to log in and run a query anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It should be finding the problem for you, telling you exactly what broke and what went wrong, what change happened, etc. Right? And then fixing it, or telling you here's the required fix. If you don't,
but again, it's not getting to a point of like an agentic engineer,
no,
right? Like there's still value in there, and I get this all the time from folks that are not in the industry.
Yeah.
Oh, AI is going to take my job, do this. You're not replacing that with an agentic engineer.
No.
You're actually just leveraging the data, the AI to be able to go, again, solve outcomes, but let the engineer now start doing what he should be doing at the beginning. And that's innovating.
Correct.
And doing different things and working it from there. And it's interesting. We're on a flight this morning. I know you know Chris really well. And Chris hit me on the shoulder and was like, Josh, what if there's agentic CIOs moving forward where and they have all the answers.
Yeah.
And so anything you come at, and it's all judged on true outcomes and different things. We're moving to that world, not from a standpoint of like, there's still that personality perspective of like how folks run this, but that agentic piece becomes realistic. And from a Dynatrace perspective, you guys are embracing that.
Well, it's answering at every level now, right? So think about tomorrow's world actually is, when you, like, for example, you talk about the Agentic CIO, which is great. So Agentic CIO, first question CEO is going to ask them when they have an outage is, how much money did we lose and who was impacted, right? What do you think? CIO goes down to their VPs, goes down to their directors, goes down to the individual contributors, right? And so if you can provide, if you natural language that answer now, and I just go in and say, how many users were impacted? How much revenue did we lose? How much, how has my customer success teams proactively reached out to these customers that were impacted, or maybe it automated the emails and they already went out and offered a 5% discount or something like that, right? That's where we're going, right? And so I think it's, he's not wrong, right? But I agree with you. I was at a conference, I can't remember which one now, but one of the main keynote speakers literally said, he goes, if you're thinking about AI as a replacement, that's completely wrong. It's an enhancement, right? It's not here to replace, it's here to enhance. If you use AI to do all your thinking, you're using it wrong, right? It's not there to replace your thinking. It's there to augment and enhance your thinking. Yeah,
and that's such a great point because we're seeing it firsthand. I think before we joined this podcast, one of the things that we were talking about is I had a customer literally yesterday talk about they're still skeptic, and they're locking it down, and not allowing their teams to actually do innovation. I love this story about Kroger, the Captain America team, and all the things that they're being able to now go do, as long as they're able to go do innovation.
Correct.
AI can go help them go do different things, right?
And, exactly.
And I mean, a lot of the organizations that we run into every day, they're really trying to their hardest to lock it down because I think they're a little bit scared, they're a little bit shy around governance and all the things that kind of come into that. But I love the story around Kroger and what we're bringing to the mix here, Nish. So I appreciate it. Is there any other comments that you guys are thinking about right now?
Yeah, I would honestly, if I one leave behind, I'd give everybody is observability can serve pretty much everybody. That same log file that a developer uses for troubleshooting can be used by the business to pull out revenue information, can be used by an SRE to figure out change management, can be used by everybody, right? So don't look at observability. If you're doing any type of AI initiative, put observability from the start. It's a must have. It's not a nice to have. And don't think about it from a metrics, logs, traces. Think about it from the entire life cycle, right? How are my users interacting with my chatbot or whatever it may be, right? How can it not replace but enhance my SRE teams? How can it help grow my business? It's an offering, right? At the end of the day, would you go to a retailer or a grocery or whatever that came in and gave you recommendations based on something you picked off the shelf, or somebody that didn't? Right? Let's say you got a pasta sauce and they say, hey, here's a wine pairing that would go really well with that pasta. That'd be pretty cool, right? Wouldn't you shop there more often versus a customer who just picked that thing off and they said, all right, have a great day? Right.
Well, and if you go back to it, Kroger kind of doing the same thing, but with within their grocery stores, they're organizing the data, which is milk is here, bread's here, and then now customers can walk in and they know where to go. And it's almost an automated process where I'm like, I walk into a Kroger grocery store, I know where the milk section is and I know which milk I want. I can go walk in, grab that, pull it out. Same thing around observability, same thing around data. Once that gets automated and that process works out, now I know where to go. I know where the data sits, and I don't become a troubleshooting engineer anymore. I become an AI engineer that's driving innovation, type of thing. So, well, Nish, obviously a pleasure talking with you. Really excited about what Dynatrace and the path that you guys are working toward, and actually looking forward to those future things that are coming out, because again, it's not bleeding edge. These things are happening fast.
Very much so.
So appreciate you joining LiveAI from Trace3, and we'll meet next time.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank you.
Josh. Appreciate it, man.
You've been listening to LiveAI. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation. This episode is sponsored by Trace3. To learn more about why you should connect with them, about your enterprise practical AI use case, visit them at trace3.com or look for them on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.